Let's talk about why Senator Kamala Harris is going to be such a strong campaigner as the vice presidential candidate. And then let's also talk about how her questioning of Bill Barr and Brett Kavanaugh laid the groundwork for what is to come in January. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So Senator Kamala Harris is going to be a strong campaigner. Why do I say that? For a couple of reasons. First of all, she knows how to use words and phrases to persuade, powerfully so, in my opinion. And another reason is that she knows how to prosecute. And I don't use that term to mean she knows how to bring a criminal charge, go into court, and try a case. I'm using it in the broader sense of the word prosecute, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's start with her power of persuasion. If you heard her speech the other day, it was remarkable for a number of reasons, but listen to this sentence. Donald Trump inherited the largest economic expansion in history from Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Then, like everything else he inherited, he ran it into the ground. Now, there's a lot to unpack in those 27 words, but in that one sentence, I think she conveyed powerfully three separate things. One, she conveyed that Barack Obama and Joe Biden successfully ran this country. It was a successful administration. Two, the fact that Donald Trump is the product of privilege, having inherited something like $400 million from his father, and he squandered it. Bankruptcy after bankruptcy after bankruptcy, and I would have to keep going to capture them all. And the third thing she conveyed is that Donald Trump is an abject failure as both a businessman and a president. That is a lot to pack into 27 words, but she has a way with words and she has the power to persuade. That's going to make her, I believe, a strong campaigner. Now, I just want to add a footnote here, because when people say that, Donald Trump ran the economy into the ground, others will come back with, well, it was really the coronavirus. It was really the health pandemic that ran the country into the ground, not Donald Trump. Here's how I respond to that. Donald Trump has been telling us over and over and over again that China sent the coronavirus to the United States intentionally to attack us. China launched an attack on us with the coronavirus. First of all, that's not true, but that's the way he chooses to characterize it. So taking his characterization, if the coronavirus was an attack on the U.S., then Donald Trump was a colossal failure as a president protecting us against that attack. We're approaching something like 170,000 dead Americans. We're sending our children back into the schools to inevitably get sick. So if this was an attack on the United States of America, then Donald Trump is perhaps the worst president in our history protecting America against such an attack. So let me go back to Kamala Harris, and I want to talk about something else that she did that I believe will bear fruit in January. I say that she knows how to prosecute. So there's a broader definition of prosecute than just, what we prosecutors do, bring charges, go into court, try cases. And it is taking a course of action with a view toward completion, hopefully a successful completion. So we've all heard the term prosecuting a war, right? That has nothing to do with criminal law or criminal charges. It's about, putting into place a plan, a strategy, and tactics, and then moving through a war, hopefully to a successful completion. That's prosecuting a war. Think about how Senator Kamala Harris questioned Bill Barr and Brett Kavanaugh under oath, because it shows that she knows how to put a plan in place that will hopefully be seen through to a successful conclusion. And we'll talk about why. But first, let's look at this clip of Senator Harris examining, really cross-examining Bill Barr and Bill Barr's responses. And then let's talk on the other side of this clip.
Senator Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Barr, has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Could you repeat that question?
I will repeat it.
Yeah.
Has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The President or anybody else?
Seems you would remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but
Perhaps they've suggested,
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
hinted,
I don't know.
inferred? You don't know? Okay. In your March 24th summary, you wrote that, quote, after reviewing the special counsel's final report.
But I will say that no one.
Sir, I'm asking a question. In your March 24th summary, you wrote that, quote, after reviewing the special counsel's final report, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein and I have concluded that the evidence is not sufficient to establish that the President committed an obstruction of justice offense. Now, the special counsel's investigation produced a great deal of evidence. I'm led to believe it included witnesses' notes and emails, witnesses' congressional testimony, witnesses' interviews, which were summarized in the FBI 302 forms, former FBI Director Comey's memos, and the President's public statements. My question is, in reaching your conclusion, did you personally review all of the underlying evidence?
No, we took and accepted. We accepted
Mr. Rosenstein?
No, we accepted the statements in the report as the factual record. We did not go underneath it to see whether or not they were accurate. We accepted it as accurate and made our.
So you accepted the report as the evidence?
Yes.
You did not question or look at the underlying evidence that supports the conclusions in the report?
No.
Did Mr. Rosenstein review the evidence that underlines and supports the conclusions in the report, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. We accepted the statements in the report,
Did
and
anyone
the
in your-
characterization of the evidence is true.
Did anyone in your executive office review the evidence supporting the report?
No.
No. Yet you represented to the American public that the evidence was not, quote, sufficient to support an obstruction of justice offense.
The evidence presented in the report. This is not a mysterious process. In the Department of Justice, we have pros memos and declination memos every day coming up, and we don't go and look at the underlying evidence.
Sir, would you support
take the characterization of the evidence as true?
As the Attorney General of the United States, you run the United States Department of Justice. If in any U.S. attorney's office around the country, the head of that office, when being asked to make a critical decision about, in this case, the person who holds the highest office in the land, and whether or not that person committed a crime, would you accept them recommending a charging decision to you if they had not reviewed the evidence?
Well, that's a question for Bob Mueller. He's the U.S. attorney. He's the one who presents the report.
But it was you who made the charging decision, sir.
What,
You made the decision not to charge the president.
no, in a pros memo and in a declination memo,
You said it was your baby. What did you mean by that?
it was my baby to decide whether or not to disclose it to the public.
And whose decision was
and-
it?
and-
Who had the power to make the decision about whether or not the evidence was sufficient to make a determination of whether there had been an obstruction of justice?
Prosecution memos go up to the supervisor. In this case, it was the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General, who decide on the final decision. And that is based on the memo as presented by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
I think you've made it clear that you've not looked at the evidence. We can move on. I think you've made it clear, sir, that you've not looked at the evidence, and we can move on. Will you agree to consult career DOJ ethics officials?
So, it's become something of a punchline. Bill Barr's, having to grapple with what the word suggest means. But the next line is just as laughable and just as evasive. When he says, when he's directly asked, were you asked by the president or anybody at the White House to open an investigation into anyone? He actually does this. Well, there have been discussions about matters out there. Okay. Before I dig into that, let's have a look at how Senator Harris cross-examined Brett Kavanaugh, because it's really similar. His performance is similar to the way Bill Barr performed when she was cross-examining him. And then we'll talk on the other side of this clip about what needs to happen in January as a result of the groundwork that has been laid by Senator Harris.
Senator Harris,
Thank you.
you want to take over?
Judge, have you ever discussed Special Counsel Mueller or his investigation with anyone?
Well, it's in the news every day.
Have you discussed it with anyone?
With other judges, I know.
Have you discussed Mueller or his investigation with anyone at Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres, the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz, President Trump's personal lawyer? Be sure about your answer, sir.
Well, I'm not remembering, but if you have something you want to...
Are you certain you've not had a conversation with anyone at that law firm?
Kasowitz, Benson.
Kasowitz, Benson, and
Yeah.
Torres, which is the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz,
Yeah.
who is President Trump's personal lawyer. Have you had any conversation about Robert Mueller or his investigation with anyone at that firm? Yes or no?
Well, is there a person you're talking about?
I'm asking you a very direct question, yes or no?
I need to know I'm not sure I know everyone who works at that law firm.
I don't think you need to. I think you need to know who you talked with. Who'd you talk to?
I don't think I'm not remembering, but I'm happy to be refreshed, or if you want to tell me who you're thinking
So
of who works.
are you saying that with all that you remember, you have an impeccable memory? You've been speaking for almost 8 hours, I think more, with this committee about all sorts of things you remember.
Yeah.
How can you not remember whether or not you had a conversation about Robert Mueller or his investigation with anyone at that law firm? This investigation has only been going on for so long, sir. So
Right,
please
I'm not
answer
sure
the question.
I'm just trying to think, do I know anyone who works at that firm? I might know.
Have you had, that's not my question. My question is, have you had a conversation with anyone at that firm about that investigation? It's a really specific question.
I would like to know the person you're thinking of, because what if
I
there's
think you're thinking of someone and you don't want to tell us. Who did you have a conversation with at the
I'm not going to...
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to raise an objection here. This town is full of law firms. Law firms are full of...
My goodness. 2 high government officials. One, an attorney general. The other, a Supreme Court justice. And, those clips we just watched are a study in evasion, right? A transparent, sad, almost juvenile attempt to keep from telling the truth. But I so appreciate the way Senator Kamala Harris questioned those 2 men, the kind of strong, pointed, precise, and strategic questioning, because in a very real sense, what she did was lay the groundwork for the criminal investigations that will need to commence in January to determine, honestly and in an apolitical way, determine if those 2 men committed perjury. More accurately, if they committed a violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001, false statements to Congress, but what we commonly refer to as perjury, lying under oath. And can I tell you, folks, those criminal investigations that will need to commence in January are pretty rudimentary. I mean, in Kavanaugh's case, all that needs to be done is grand jury subpoenas will need to be issued to members of that law firm that Senator Harris asked him about, and the witnesses will be asked in the grand jury, did you ever discuss the Mueller investigation with Brett Kavanaugh? Easy, right? In Bill Barr's case, all you need to do come January is subpoena the various folks at the White House who may have had conversations with Bill Barr and, ask them, did anybody at the White House, including the president, ask Bill Barr or suggest to Bill Barr he should open an investigation into someone, right? This is criminal investigations 101, and it must be undertaken beginning in January. And can I tell you that I spent, literally countless hours in grand jury rooms, examining witnesses, trying to extract every bit of truthful information that I could to see if a crime had been committed, and if so, to see if I had enough evidence to charge the perpetrator. And the grand jury is a beautiful thing, folks. If you've been in there, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you've probably heard the old ham sandwich line. The grand jury is a beautiful thing because it is members of the community. Between about 16 and 22, 24 members sit in the grand jury at any given time. And they're both the conscience of the community and they're a check on government overreach, on executive branch, on prosecutorial overreach. And they will not indict a ham sandwich unless a corrupt prosecutor delivers one up to them. And I can tell you, in my experience as a prosecutor for 30 years, we don't do that. Has it been done? Have there been corrupt prosecutors? Of course. Look at the leadership of the Department of Justice presently. But the grand jury is a beautiful thing, and it will need to be used, and it will need to be put in overdrive beginning in January. So I do believe Senator Harris will be a strong campaigner, and I do believe she knows how to prosecute a campaign, that is, strategically and tactically see it through to a successful completion. And she has laid the groundwork for us to do the hard work of justice come January. And as we know, justice matters. Folks, as always, please stay safe, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.